Welcome back. And the Ghanaian Times. Police unaware of operations of National Security Operatives at Ayas West Wogon. Police Director of Operations says so. Kaneshi First Light to be closed to traffic from March 2. And Ghana marks 72nd anniversary of 28 February Christianberg Castle Crossroads. President reshuffles ministers, appoints ministers for 6 new regions. And there you have it. Yana installs Paramount Chief of Savelugu. The Finder newspaper, shake up in government. Test flights of medical drones begin. Government backs investigation into intercepted NDC meeting audio recording. The Daily Guide, government denies bagging NDC office. Cabinet shake up hits ministers. New regions get ministers. And Cassius mining clears air. Ofuswamp swerves police. The Daily Graphic, ministerial changes. Barbara Otin JC promoted. Catherine Afeku moves to presidency. Test flights of drones for medical supplies to begin. And police vigilantism can plunge Ghana into anarchy. Chief Superintendent Kwesi Ofori there. The Catholic Standard. Pope outlines 8 points in battle against abuse of minors. And church leaders must admit mistakes, says Archbishop Name at the Vatican. The Publisher. Ofoswap snaps NDC over leak tape. Government probes Anas video. Afeku asked in government's reshuffle. MPP has not bagged NDC office. And the weekend, just because it's a weekend, danger looms over Kaswa Opeikiman, quarry lands. NDC man swindled investors. And GCFM assures customers of better service. And there's also a hot styles of black dreadlocks for black women. My guest this morning, the Member of Parliament for the Bongo constituency, Mr. Edward Bauer, is here. Honorable, good morning. Thank you for your time. And Mr. Richard Nyama is also here. He's a key member of the MPP. He speaks for the party chairman and is a member of the communications team as well. Mr. Nyama, good morning. Thank you for your time.
Morning. Oh, I didn't know that. That's supposed you speak for the party chairman. Me, I didn't know that. I saw him here and I say, hey, Charlie, this is my brother. How? I didn't know you were a big man.
He's the deputy communications director of the party, so.
I didn't know that.
But you're also on energy.
I'm aware of my own.
I told you it's in his DNA.
No. Richard,
to play mischief.
He's carrying
I didn't know this.
the off-air mischief on and I've always known him that way. Just ignore him.
Gentlemen, let's start off now. The issue of the tape and the Galamsey tape, of course, first of all, let's talk about the reshuffle that's happened. I was asking you a question this morning, what the role of, thankfully you have been a minister before.
No, I'm not.
Okay.
You
worked with a minister before.
Yes.
I'm asking the function of a minister of state at the presidency, or what we call a minister without portfolio. I'm asking what the function is. I've been asking that question. Maybe there are some answers, I don't know. I'll start with you, Mr. Bauer.
Yeah, thank you very much. Let me first and foremost say good morning to your viewers and to my constituents. It's by their grace that we're here. Now to the specific question as to what will be the function of a Minister of State presidency. So there could be a lot of functions. You know that if you look at, we have what we call the government machinery. The government machinery is not just made of just the president alone. You have other agencies that fall under the Ministry of the government machinery, or maybe the presidency. You have the Population Council that is there. You have MASLOC that falls under that. Indeed, you have PURC that falls under that. You have other agencies that come directly. They don't fall under any other ministry, but it's under the presidency. And so some of the ministers of states mostly are sometimes assigned to that. The name that readily comes to mind is somebody like Rashid Pelpo under us.
Okay.
Even he was a minister of state, but he was in charge of PPP.
Right.
So all public-private partnership arrangements came under his purview, and he worked in collaboration with the relevant ministry. It could be Ministry of Energy, if that was where the PPP was. It could be Ministry of Works and Housing and what have you. So you could have that. So to have a Minister of State at the presidency, that is one answer. It could also be.
But all these organizations or institutions that they supervise also have CEOs who are supposed
Yeah,
to
they
be
have CEOs,
reporting.
but you need a political supervision.
Okay.
It's just that, unfortunately for us, we have decided to, how will I, for lack of a better word, vandalize our state institutions, that even CEOs are politicians. But ordinarily, you should have a situation where in most of these organizations, it should be a career path to the top. And therefore, whilst you are there as a technocrat, you have a political supervision, because at the end of the day, the government of the day will have a vision that will have to be prosecuted. And so there should be some level of ministerial supervision on that. Remember that all ministers work in the person of the president as per the constitution.
Right.
And so the minister would have then been conveying to such institutions that. But you could also have a situation where a minister of state is just sent there just to read newspapers.
Really?
Yes, or maybe just to tell you that we just feel shy sacking you.
Okay.
But you come here. I'll give you a typical example. The current reshuffle, where you have Madam, my colleague, Honorable Katrina Fego,
Right.
being sent to the presidency. I'm sure the woman herself, if you ask her what is your position, what is the designation you have, unless she reads it, she won't remember. Because it is Minister of State at the presidency, assigned to the office of the minister, senior minister. That is the title. I'm just reading the title for you. Just look at it.
Is there? Well,
it's there.
yesterday we
So
saw
that
it.
to the extent that I'm convinced that my colleague, if you ask her what is your designation, or maybe even her complimentary card, I don't know how she's going to write. She will need a whole page, a whole book, or maybe a whole leaflet to be able to put her designation on it. Such positions, you do know that it's just that they feel shy telling you that we are fed up with you. And the only way to go about it is to do what they do. You have a situation where you have a minister of state in the office of the vice president. So you ask yourself, what is he going to be doing there? There are certain people to just a minister of state, and they get there. And I know this. I know some ministers who you get to the ministry. You get to the presidency. They have no schedule. All they do is draw fuel, get paid, stay in a government bungalow. And if you are lucky and the president is traveling, they remember you, in case they are writing the names for those who are going to travel, and you pass by and say, oh, this man is still here. Let's put his name there. That's exactly, and I know some ministers, because of the fact that it's live television, I wouldn't want to mention that. But you see that they were just posted to the presidency for either some balance, to achieve some balance, or maybe because they feel shy, or to a very large extent, the president may owe you some particular favor.
Is that a way to go?
It is never the way to go, but I'm just trying to tell you that. You see, all of us are worried about the numbers we have. Now we are flirting around we're almost getting to 130, because it's about 124 to 125 ministers. Just look at it. On the average, if you have 125 ministers for a population of 29 million, I mean, to what extent why do we need this? The president, I remember when he decided to break the record by giving us 110 ministers. And we questioned, civil society questioned, the media questioned, politicians questioned the numbers. He indicated that, look, let me be judged by the output of these ministers.
And I like the president's way of announcing the ministers. If he mentions Mr. Richard Nyama, for example, he tells you what his expertise are, what his experience is.
I agree with you.
And then he tells you what his particular KPI is. So you know why
he's
why
so thanks you've mentioned KPIs. So at the end of the day,
you have to wrap up for me. So
so at the end of the day, he says they will know their output. As we speak today, 2 years into his government, we are in the third year now, am I right?
Right.
So 2 years into his government, can we have a very good assessment of him? Is it the case that the output that we have seen today is reflective of the numbers? Is it justifiable to have the numbers 110, now 125? I mean, let's be sincere with ourselves.
There's an evaluation minister who, for example, is doing...
An evaluation minister. And that's what I'm saying. Look, you do not need an evaluation minister to tell you that the CD is depreciating. You don't need an evaluation minister. You don't need an evaluation minister to let you know that as we speak today, our power sector, the utilities are collapsing. You don't need an evaluation minister to tell you to a very large extent that you have a lot of unemployed youth on the streets. You don't need an evaluation minister to tell you that as we speak today, school children who are under the pretext of free education have their future being jeopardized.
Thank you.
So I don't need an evaluation minister to know that when I live it.
Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Nyama, will this reshuffle change anything?
Thank you, my brother, and good morning to your viewers. Is it not ironical that my brother, who is not the minister that has been posted, can remember what the title is, and he expects the person who has been posted not to remember the title? That's just.
I was not too sure. I even quoted the title very well. I'm not sure I quoted the title.
It's okay. I like to make his point.
No, he drew me into the conversation. So that's why I had to respond.
Anyway, that's just by the way. And you see, he also alludes to happenings in the past administration,
Right.
where people are posted just to read newspapers, and he's
No, I didn't
trying
say
to.
that. I didn't say past administration. I
I'm-
gave general
you are speaking from experience, and
yes.
which experience you would have gained in your obviously not the let them read newspapers, and when the president is traveling, they remember, they will add you to the long list of those traveling to draw some per diem. Yes, that is their way of doing it. But you see, you brilliantly spelt out, and it's a novelty. Prior to President Akufo-Addo coming in, we didn't have sector ministers being given their schedules and KPIs publicly. So aside your evaluation minister and all that, you and I, and especially the media, if we had media professionals that were specialized, like we have in other jurisdictions, what we could do was to take sector by sector, look at their KPIs. Aside the Minister of Evaluation doing his job, evaluating these various people based on their the KPIs that have been given them, and then independently tell Ghanaians that, okay, per the KPI that was given X on the day of appointment, we've ticked off 5 out of 10. And so in terms of performance, we'll give him or her an average of 50%.
I've asked the Ghanaians to do this morning. I've told them to do that, to speak up as well.
Who?
I have told them to
Ghanaians,
speak up
those
this
who live
morning.
it.
You see, yeah, but that is the point.
Because they can't leave the media alone to do the full job.
No.
They went to the polls to vote.
Yes, you see, they unfortunately, as a people, some have access and expertise. The media largely has that, the access and expertise. If an individual on their own volition, especially in this age where having access to information is that difficult, it is
Rather, it's easier.
hold on. It will be easier when that freedom of information,
Right to information bill.
is passed. It will be easier because that one I know within the laws that you are mandated, okay? And so until we get there, we have limited access. There are certain things you cannot get. But I'm saying that because of the position of the media and also their level of expertise, the likelihood of you getting, okay, if you went to a minister and you can easily have access to that minister than a guy walking on the street, that, okay, on your appointment day, this was a KPI that was published. On ABCD, we want information on the performance or realization of these KPIs. Because we are going to publish on your ministry. So it's either we go out there and publish you've done nothing, or you let us have the access and the information.
This is work that the evaluation minister should have done, published.
No, you
and
see,
should have let us know quarter by quarter at least
you know
what the
something?
ministers are doing.
I said that they aside the minister.
But we have not seen any sheet from him saying that, well, this quarter, for the first quarter or last quarter of 2018, for example, this is how the ministers have fared. A minister's league
If I
table.
remember, in I think somewhere in early 2018, there were reports on the work that the minister had done on the various ministries.
It was one off.
A one-off. That is 1 year gone.
And
Hold on,
he
hold
himself,
on,
he
hold
himself
on,
as evaluation minister
hold on.
was not evaluated.
Hold on. He did a one-off. That would have been for a year gone. And I'm saying that hold your horses. We are now in the 3rd year. So you should be expecting that of the 2nd year that has just gone by. You evaluate what
But the first year, there's no evaluation for the first year.
Oh, if you had an evaluation report and discussion in 2018, it obviously was for 2017.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
And if you get one in 2019, it's for 2018.
Okay.
So hold your
When
horses.
is that
But
one
what
due?
I'm
When is that due? That came around the State of the Nation address, I remember, because I interviewed him.
That
in
is the point.
Parliament.
That is the point I'm making. I'm saying that hold your horses. You will hear from him.
Okay.
But you see, the media, are seen as more of independent and more trustworthy. You are doing the
As
work
compared
on
to the minister.
No.
No,
Look,
I'm just trying to
saying that
be sure about what you're saying.
hold on.
Hold on for it.
Hold on. When you see, you reflect us as a people.
Okay.
What you tell us, we hold you more dear, and we're more likely to believe what you say as being a true reflection of the situation.
But if a government,
than a minister coming to say that, oh, this is what I have done.
but Richard,
You, as an independent person, if you came up with a situation report, it's more likely to be believed. I'm saying
is it a suggestion that the minister's report will not be believed? We have a minister of planning, we have a minister of evaluation. These people are professionals. They are professors and doctors. If they do an assessment, what will give the people of Ghana the slightest doubt not to believe what they put
I think you're
down?
twisting my words. I'm saying that besides the minister's report, and I'm saying await it. It will come.
Okay.
But you, as media, who are fishing for news and fishing for information, you know what? When you start doing an evaluation of the various ministries,
Okay.
what you do is that you change the debate,
Okay.
the paradigm. The focus becomes one of development instead of all the other unnecessary things we mostly will be.
Key question on the minds of
discussing.
many Ghanaians that the numbers are ballooning and they are not happy. Then they want to know sincerely, how many ministers do we need to efficiently and effectively run this country?
Right now, you have 6 regions. Automatically, you would have 12 ministers.
Not necessarily.
Hold on.
You don't necessarily have to
Allow him, Mr. Banner. You have your
counter when it comes to your turn. You have 6 regions. Unless he can tell me of a situation where under them they fail to appoint a minister or a deputy to any region.
Okay.
Especially when the regions are new.
Okay.
There's a lot of work to be done, administratively, politically, locally, structurally. You are setting up offices, you are setting up structures. You would need to have men on the ground to do that. These are new administrations being formed from the scratch. And so there has to be focus there. Monies are going to be pumped in there. There would have to be some expenditures, one way or the other, because the purpose of doing this is to decentralize, devolve, and actually take development across. That is why we divided the regions.
Wrap up
So
for me.
if you think that adding 12, that is 6 ministers and 6 deputies to the numbers is not what should have been done. My question is, if you were in this situation, what would you have done?
Okay.
Would you have decided that you would not appoint any ministers to the 6 regions or deputy ministers? And how do you expect them to properly function?
He would answer that question. My question to you now is that, in your most honest truth, do you think that the ministers are giving us value for money, that what we are paying them, what benefits they are getting for us? Do you believe that they are giving us value for money?
Oh, that is value judgment, and it depends on our individual understanding.
Yes, I'm asking your individual understanding. Are they giving us value for money?
Generally, yes. But obviously, there are some that we'll probably have to take a second look at. And so that should be left to the people of Ghana to make a decision. But if I had my way, maybe one or two people would see the door.
Okay. Mr. Bauer, take a quick bite before Doctor comes in to share the messages with us. He says, what would you have done if you had new regions to run? Necessarily, would you bring 12 new ministers?
Look, let me make a point here. You see, again, it goes back to the fact that we have decided as a country to destroy our bureaucracy. If we had believed in our bureaucracy and we allowed our bureaucracy to work as it's supposed to work, we don't need such huge numbers. I'll give you a typical example.
Right.
The Ministry of Transport has been created. Two other ministries have been created out of that ministry. You have Ministry of Railways or something, and then you have Ministry of Aviation.
Right.
Then you now have the proper Ministry of Transport, which in my opinion, what it just simply means Ministry of Buses and Cars. Because they have taken the aviation, they've taken the, maybe you could talk about the sea. You understand the point I'm making? Why would you need this if you have a very strong bureaucracy where you have maybe Ghana Railway Authority?
Okay.
You have a CEO who would have been a career bureaucrat, and therefore can do the work. You only need a supervision, policy formulation on the issue of transport, because that is basically the role of a minister, is to give policy directions to various implementing agencies to be able to implement. So why would you need two other places? I'm just using that as an example to tell you that if we were to sit down critically, look at certain ministries that we have created, you are talking about Ministry of Procurement. And you know the interesting part about the procurement issue? Anytime there's an issue of procurement and you write asking the Minister for Procurement to come and then answer a question on some procurement issue, by law, she's not the one supposed to come and answer. It's the Minister of Finance.
Right.
Because PPA falls on the Ministry of Finance.
True.
You understand my point?
True.
So, in as much as she's a Minister of State in charge, as a Minister of Procurement, she has no function. Meanwhile, she's drawing salary. Meanwhile, she is supposed to be a minister. Why do you need that when you have a PPA that is there? And you have a Minister of Finance that's to pretend over the activities. Why would you want to have a minister?
What would you have done if you had 12 new regions to administer? Would you have brought 6
new
regions? Would you have brought 12 new ministers?
You see, the point I'm just trying to make.
I want a straight answer so
look,
Doctor can read
the point I'm just trying to make is that the point I'm just trying to make is that, look, even if you have the 12, you can still balance that up by slashing down a number of ministers you have created.
So what would you have had?
Look, we have never, and I'm saying, even until Akufo-Addo came, governments always had the worst case scenario was around 80. Until Akufo-Addo came, from Rawlings to Kufuor to Mills and to John, it had always hovered between 70 something and then 80. Then suddenly you move to 111.
Okay. One simple question. You've gone around. You haven't answered it.
No, what do you mean I haven't answered it?
Dr. Namado, please share some messages with us. What are people saying on WhatsApp?
There's so many messages coming in on our WhatsApp console, but I'll start with this one. It says, coming from Rafik Abuabo, capitalist in Tamale. He says, good morning to the whole crew of TV3. I encourage every well-meaning patriotic Ghanaian to condemn the NDC chairman's comments, that's Mr. Ofosu Ampofo, and all these are the signs of the boot for boot their flag bearer encourages. May God save us from this wicked NDC leaders, he says. Filippo Kwabre Kasam, watching you live here inside Master Dambroka Kente Thread Shop. Hello, champion host. I'm pleading with those who have been appointed by Mr. President Nana Addo to go and do the job perfectly for Mother Ghana and wishing them all the best. Good morning, he says to his manager. TV3, good morning. With regards to yesterday's failure, 7,432 of the first ever license exam. If the government and the National Teaching Council want the teacher trainees to pass their exams well, then they should give them a syllabus, a summary of the topics, because we are not magicians. This coming from Philip Anderson at Ekunfin, Nanaben. I am sorry for MPP and the government. After the executed plot by the so-called national security against citizens of this country, you find it convenient to tell the NDC chairman to resign. How many of your ministers of your security or ministers of security have resigned for the mess caused in this country? Mr. Ofosu is just plotting and you are calling for his head. What have you done to your men who executed the Ayawaso evil plot? Shame on you. This coming from Clement in Tripoli. Did I hear the information minister say they have to investigate the video further before action can be taken? That's a question Joseph Imbolga is asking. Then this is from Yamoha in Wa. As for John Mahama, well, as John Mahama was building 123 new E-blocks for senior high schools, Nana Addo is busily appointing 123 ministers in this tight economy to further drain our little resources. He says the elephant is killing Ghana. NDC leadership so far has demonstrated that they are mature politicians, especially the aspirants who contested alongside with former President John Dramani Mahama. I hope the spirit of unity will continue to guide the party for their subsequent political activities. Kudos to NDC, long live Ghana. This is from Alaji Wilipi in Efie Kuma. Then from the Teacher Constitution in He says, so when are the minority going to be serious in Ghana politics? They walked out of parliament yesterday. Ghanaians will never make a mistake again to vote for the NDC because they look like a terrorist group rather than a political party. This is what you think. He's saying no to NDC is his hashtag there. Johnny, maybe we'll take some final two and then we'll wrap up here. Good morning, TV3. Very interesting. Catherine Afeku, Minister of State at the office of the senior minister. I think the president is joking with this country. This is coming from Emmanuel Takrade in Efiakuma. Then finally, if all political parties that have governed this country over the years had behaved the way this current MPP government is doing, would we have lived in peace to reach where we are today? What is more disgusting is when the stooges and sycophants come out defending the shameful acts of the government. Asanko Santa Maria. Then finally, good morning, Johnny. Taxi drivers have abandoned the taxi station, giving them an SCC near Ucoms and Wager, and have moved very close to roadside by the Melcom building around the West Hills Mall. This is very dangerous because some people almost got hit by vehicles plying that route. Please, the stakeholders involved should take necessary action. Thank you, and I'm sure we'll make sure we work on that. Johnny,
thank you very much. I'm most grateful. We'll take a break at this point. When we return, we'll be talking about the tape, the Galamsey video, and matters arising. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back. I still have my guest, Richard Nyama of the NPP and Edward Barr of the NDC. Gentlemen, so let's zoom straight into, I'll start with you, Richard, on this one. The allegations that there's a cover-up because of the Galamsey video that Aremia Anas put up, the part 1, part 2 scheduled to come up, and that the Minister for Information demanding for the raw footage to be able to do proper investigation has raised a lot of eyebrows. What is happening?
There's a cover-up by who?
I don't know. By your side. That's what the NDC is saying, that look, you're trying to cover up this by blowing up Mr. Fuswampofo's, Elder Fuswampofo's leak tape and all the other issues. The reshuffle.
So are we talking about those two in conjunction?
Yes. We're talking about the two in conjunction. First, let's talk about the issue of Galamsey, if you will. The fact that the government set up, a fight against Galamsey. The media has been screaming on top of our lungs for it. Operation Vanguard came, intersectoral, interministerial committee came up, and we thought we were winning the fight. Then, boom, Anas hits us with an expose that implicates government officials. How's the government taking this?
How on earth does a video exposing allegedly people engaged in corruption be a sign that the fight against Galamsey in the first place has stopped? If I see this the right way, through the right optics,
okay,
it's actually part of the fight against Galamsey. First, let's put it on record.
Okay.
The NDC, as a government and as an opposition party, are for Galamsey, and they have promoted it.
How is that so?
In their 8 years in government, did they stop it? They formed him. There was a whole minister.
Right.
If I remember, Inusuf Husseini actually lamented publicly about how him and his task force could not perform. They were being undermined and all that. we saw our river bodies turn into milky waters, polluted beyond usage, to the extent that we're being warned that not too distant future, we will have to import water in this country to drink. Okay? Please, let's all cast our minds back. Then the fight against Galamsey starts. It is succeeding. The water bodies are becoming clean. The former president goes out there actually campaigning as to how the MPP government is forcing people who are into illegal mining to be unemployed and all those things, virtually inciting them against the president and the government. And I have to be very frank with you. It takes a very determined, resolved president to keep going. Because we're talking about money bags, we're talking about chiefs and elders, we're talking about people of influence in this country who are into it, that you are fighting against. The president never eluded himself or Ghanaians that the fight is going to be done in a day. And he has kept saying it. And when the NDC made that comment, the former president, he came out that, look, he is prepared to lose the election, the next election, to do the right thing.
Now the video is here. Has the government responding to it or reacting to it?
Yes. And I just said that that video is a feather in the fight against Galamsey. Because whilst the process is going on, people that you have employed to do it and actually lead the fight, because the president can't do everything by himself, so he has to have some lieutenants to do it. So if those people in pursuing the president's mandate are actually sabotaging it in another form, it is only good that they are exposed so that it's dealt with. Now,
is that why you're asking for the raw footage?
Oh, what is wrong with having the...
no, I'm just asking, is that why the government is asking for the raw
footage? The raw footage will be given to the appropriate institution to do further investigations and at least have, you see, secondary evidence naturally is sieved. Okay? And the likelihood that you will punch holes into them when you go to the law courts are higher than when you have the primary evidence. So for me, it is a show of commitment that, look, give me the raw data. Let me take it through the legal process to prove that, yes, these people are actually culpable. And that at no point would they use as their defense that this has been doctored, like the NDC is talking about when it comes to Ofusu-Ampofo. It's been doctored means that at least you are part of it, but something has changed. So there's supposed to be an original tape or an original voice that has not been cut. That is where they are heading. If they say their tape is doctored, they are simply saying that
we'll talk about the
they
tape.
have.
Let's talk about the video.
No, I'm just using as an example. That is as a defense. Though they have already started raising doubts. Because that is supposed to be some cut and paste. Someone deliberately took out some portions and put them together. So if the agencies and the relevant authorities are asking that, look, bring us the raw data. Let us use it so that nobody will go and make any excuses anywhere. I don't get your point that there's a cover-up.
So then...
How can you cover up raw data? You can actually cover up the secondary one.
The question,
not the
question that comes up in my mind is that, well, it has an attendant effect. An ultimatum was given, it elapsed. Another was given, it elapsed. It ran for a full year, through which this time there was a ban on small-scale mining. The miners complained, people had gone for loans. We've said that, well, if we end Galamsey, we're going to provide alternative jobs to satisfy those who were in there at the time, so they don't get tempted to go back in there.
Yes.
All of these things, I don't see them. The guys who have left the pit, who are supposed to be getting alternative jobs, and we touted one district, one factory, planting for food and jobs, for example, I don't see them. So my question now is that, yes,
you don't see them because they haven't been paraded before you, or you've gone on the ground and followed and you haven't found anyone? Which one?
No, I'm asking you.
No, you say you don't see them.
Yes.
You are making an emphatic statement. Hold on. If you're making an emphatic statement, you are telling the public that this is not being done. You have talked about food and jobs. So you have talked about this,
right?
And yet people have left the pits and they are not being engaged.
I'm saying that for whatever it is worth, we know the numbers that were involved in Galamsey.
What were the numbers?
No, I'm saying you are supposed to be telling me.
You keep passing the buck. You just said you know the numbers. I didn't claim that.
Allow me to ask my question. You are not allowing me to ask my question.
Okay, ask your question.
My question is that I'm saying that it is also a fact, and I like the fact that you went for a historical perspective.
Yes.
The historical perspective is that at the time the Galamsey was stamped, or the president said we're going to stamp it, he gave an ultimatum. The first one elapsed, I think it was a 30-day. It elapsed, so it went through a whole year.
Which of the ultimatums are you talking about?
I've been key on this Galamsey matter, so we know.
No, I'm saying that
when John Bitamewu was minister, the ultimatum was given. It elapsed. He gave another one. It elapsed. I think it was about a third or fourth one, and then he got swapped. So I'm saying that within that time, people were not mining, which means that we had a problem with their licenses, which means that, and we had the miners complaining about the fact that their loans, they couldn't no longer service their loans because they couldn't go and mine and all of that. And then we said that, well, there's a certain link between those who do Galamsey and those who go and do deforestation and all of that.
Yes.
So we're going to provide jobs for them.
And that has been done. I am aware.
Okay, so give us the figures.
I am aware of someone in this country who was a very huge Galamsey miner.
Okay.
Who today is about the biggest commercial farmer individually.
Okay.
In this country.
Okay.
No, just share the name.
No, I wouldn't, because I am not saying this with his permission.
Okay.
Okay, and I wouldn't want to be exposing him. Maybe he doesn't want that to be known. But point is, if you went to the interministerial committee on this, the data is there, hardcore data, where capacity building has been given in conjunction with one district, food and jobs, food and jobs, where thousands of people have been the
745,000, which was quoted by the minister, was challenged by the Peasant Farmers Association.
745,000.
Yes. They challenged that number.
That have been integrated into farming.
They challenged.
If they challenged it, what number did they give? What number did they give? You don't just challenge. You put out that per a head count by us, these are the numbers that you have engaged. And even that, if they challenged it, at least it means something was being done.
Are you able
that
to?
Is contrary to your argument that nothing is being done.
Mr. Nyama, it's not mine now. It's not mine.
People have been reintegrated, have been retrained into proper agriculture.
Hold on for me.
In the small scale mining.
Mr. Nyama, you're my brother. Hold on for me.
Yes.
I'm asking. People have been reintegrated. That's what you're saying. Yes. I'm saying give us numbers of the people who have been. You should be able to give me as
you just mentioned the number.
No, and I'm saying that number has been doubted. So now, give me the numbers.
Please. The minister has given a number. 745,000. Yes. You are saying somebody is challenging it. If you just come and say what you are saying, I don't agree with it. Because you say so, doesn't mean what you are saying is right.
Okay.
Give me a contrary number. Until you do that, what the minister has said is what stands.
Okay. So they have been integrated.
If you have reintegrated 745,000 people into from mining, look at the effect. Have you guys gone around and seen our water bodies now? Have you guys gone around and see the reforestation that is taking place? Have you seen the reclamation of the lands? Yes, and those same lands are being reclaimed to do farming.
Okay.
And so why is this issue that there is nothing to be hidden? And NAS is helping with the information. Those who are found culpable will be prosecuted, and well so, because learning from our past, where you have put these tapes together, you go to court and the case is knocked down on technicalities. You use the original ones, but they have facts on the ground too. Is that our waters are cleaner, our forest is growing,
Okay.
and we have more food for at a cheaper cost today because those people have gotten into agriculture. We have reclaimed all those lands that they freely allowed people to mine. You know what? In actual fact, based on their actions, legal concessions like Obuasi, you had armed bandits go in there and shoot officers and kill them. They closed down Obuasi. Today, Obuasi is back online.
Thank you very much.
That is your record when it comes to the
Richard, Mr. Bauer, step in for me now. So, this is the story that we're hearing. Anas Arimea says the people who we selected to go and make sure that this fight becomes successful are the very people who are complicit in this. What's going on in your mind now?
Thank you very much. I will need to approach this in threefold. The first one is to correct. It was that, look, whilst you discourage these people from going into this, you must provide them with an alternative, attractive way, means of life, such that they would not go back to that.
Right. When did this dawn on him?
Can I make my point, please?
When did he dawn on him?
He kept quiet. He kept quiet for you.
He had 8 years. He
kept quiet for you.
We inherited the problem from him.
He kept quiet for you. Allow him to.
So I'm happy, and I'm equally happy that from all indications, not that he's disputing my statement, but he's telling me when did it dawn on him.
When did it dawn on him?
So to make the statement that His Excellency the former president was in favor of Galamsey and was condemning the president cannot be true. And indeed, when they attempted this the first time to derail his campaign on the basis of this, there was a formal statement that was issued by Ajini Boateng to that effect. So let's no one have it on their mind that this is the case. That's the fact. I just wanted to get that before come. The whole idea of fighting illegal mining in this country was something that everybody supported. But whilst doing it, we needed to also be very careful that just like in the oil industry, in the mining industry, local content has been very low. Ghanaians being part of this have been very low. There was a general blanket ban on small-scale mining. And so it meant that not only, because not all small-scale miners are galamseyers. And so, but there was a blanket one that was put there. So the people who were now operating within that particular industry were multinationals.
Right.
All the Ghanaians were off. Meanwhile, and you had captured this very rightly, that these were small-scale miners who had gone for gone for credit from banks and other things. One, they couldn't service the loans because they were out of business. Because in the first place, there's no way a small-scale miner will be given a license to mine, for example, in a reserve forest or maybe in a water body. And so there were demarcated areas because your license is specific to an acreage that you can deal with. That was a policy that was not very clear. As a member of the Mines and Energy Committee, we had the occasion to invite the minister, who is now the Minister of Energy, to come and give us. What was a clear policy guideline? When were you starting this program? You have started. What was the termination point?
Timelines.
At what point would you bring back these small-scale miners, particularly when they had petitioned the committee? We never had answers. We never got answers to these things. So, in as much as the principle underlying the fight is something that has been embraced by everybody, the policy and the direction of the whole exercise in itself was a bit hazy. It is not only in the mining thing. You look at planting for food and jobs. What is the policy document?
Let's keep to mining.
No, I'm just going to. I'm just trying to
talk about. We don't have a lot of time,
so
let's keep to
mining.
So
that is it. So the whole idea of policy direction in that particular thing was something. That is why you would be asking questions that my brother has challenges answering. It is not because he does not want to answer them, but he himself has no information on that. He has no information because the government itself has no information. So when you ask them,
how can the government not have information?
That explains why.
Interministerial committee.
That is why. I'll come to that. That is why figures are being banded and they cannot meet. But now to the correction, I've seen that you have started your signature to this time. Look.
So we are not discussing the tape.
You see, you have an expose that has come up. You have an expose that has come up. That involves people who work at the presidency. Then you have a president. Because just a few, number 12, remember number 12. Right. When it happened, immediately the president reported the issue to the police and asked the police to take
We don't know if he saw the
raw footage. All I'm now tapes. Usually what happens is that before he publicizes it, he makes sure that all the authorities involved they see it first.
How did number 12 end?
Even
what
you,
is the state of number 12 now?
Even you, the victim, or maybe the person who has been captured, most often than not, they give you an opportunity to look at it.
Right.
To see, this is the way we captured you. So if you have a president that suddenly has his information minister come to tell us that, give us the raw data and we investigate, it's a clear indication that this is a government that's not ready to fight corruption. And I just said off air, I told you that it is not only this. Go back and read the report on the Chamber of Bulk Oil Companies. Fuel smuggling. The people who are involved in this, it has been captured in that document. The presidency, people from the presidency are involved in illegal fuel trade. And so, if you have a situation, I'm just making a point that I'm not speaking. I've referred you to a document. Google it, and you will see it.
Thank you.
Please,
gentlemen.
You have made the point about former presidents having all these lofty ideas about the mining sector.
Gentlemen.
What did he do?
Okay.
So that all of a sudden he has the right.
So because of that,
so my gentlemen are here. Edward Bauer is the member of parliament for the Bongo constituency. He was here on behalf of the NDC. And Mr. Richard Nyama is also the Deputy Communications Director of the NPP. Thank you very much for Friday.